public comment. Doesn't look like we have any members of the public present to comment. Next, we have the minutes from June 6th. Everybody had a chance to take a look at those.
I move that we accept the minutes.
A second.
Okay, so approved, because I have to do the.
Yeah, I'm just looking to see who was here, who,
Yeah.
all that. I mean, I think we're still good to. Do we have a second? I guess all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to our updates and discussions on the next steps.
I can,
Any idea about Charlie's?
yep, I was in on
Great.
that meeting.
Awesome.
Charlie, myself, and Michael Santoro with the Department of Housing had a Zoom meeting. Ed Ciccarello was present in Charlie's house. But, I mean, he walked in, but if it's going to be a meeting of a member of a committee, and I'm gonna say it on the record for everyone, if it's a member of a committee in some agency, it's the member of the committee and maybe two at the most on the committee members, and it could be myself also. That would be probably wise to have me there as well, but it's public not necessarily.
Yeah.
So, and I like it, so, just so we get that on the record. But we were talking about, the chairman has arrived.
All right.
Okay,
Sorry,
that's quite all right. Just so you
Look,
know.
I will relinquish my
Yeah.
my authority.
We just called the meeting to order and we did the minutes, so. I don't know if there's anything new in here, I think there is, but. I was just starting with Charlie's report. Charlie's not here this evening. So Charlie Wisnowski, Michael Santoro from Department of Housing, and I had a Zoom meeting on 6/24. And I was stating that there was a member of the public present, that Ciccarello was present. And while at these forums, they can certainly be present, but if you're meeting with an entity, really it should be a committee member, possibly staff, and whoever the entity is, unless we're in this kind of setting here at a meeting. This was more of a private meeting, like me meeting with a developer. I'm not gonna call, hey, you in the audience that, wants to speak.
Or
I'm not
really
gonna
even
call
like
you in.
spouses or.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that too.
really, it should just be, so, but I just state that on the record, so. But I did sit on that meeting, I did take some notes. We were talking about inventory, affordable housing, and the affordable housing appeals list, and report on, what's included, what's not included. We talked about the census data, and we talked about the units are reported, units that are being constructed, a single-family residence or a rental unit is reported to the state through our building department. So a lot of units are being constructed, but they're not built yet. So they get, as far as the number of housing units, we may get credit for things that aren't completed yet.
I understand. Do we report, or do they get reported to the state when we issue a building permit, or? how
Well,
does
when
that
a
work?
building permit gets issued for a single-family home or a
Okay.
unit.
Or is it when a
CO?
certificate of occupancy
Yeah.
comes?
Well, they report the building permits as well.
Yeah.
They report the building permits. Now, with affordable units, they don't get reported until such time as the documents are filed on the land records.
Okay.
Now, the documents don't get filed until that developer is looking for a certificate of occupancy.
So it's
So,
not just
so like
inventory.
Kelson Row, for example, they're not asking for a certificate of occupancy, so those documents are right now, they're in my office, okay? And then we have some other projects with affordable housing units, and those aren't gonna be filed until such time as they're asking for their certificate of occupancy. So they kinda get filed, the CO gets issued, and then we get the credit.
Okay, so just to make sure we're clear, so we'll take Kelson Row for instance, at 225 units or something like that, right? So are the 225 units in the denominator already?
I believe all those have been issued building permits. They've
Okay.
all received
So when
building
the state
permits.
says this is
We
all of
have-
your housing units, that's in, that 225 is included in there?
I believe it is, based upon what we
But
heard.
but we don't get counted in the numerator for the affordable housing until they have occupancy.
Until, yeah,
They asked for it.
yeah. Yeah.
So it's different matrix being used for the
Yes.
numerator and the
Yeah.
denominator.
Which,
So
I
before they
understand,
issue,
yeah.
I mean, even if they issue certificate of occupancy for a now they're gonna have the units spread out throughout the development.
Right.
So, but say building one may only have
yeah,
3 units or whatever,
Yeah.
however many units, all, that documentation in totality is gonna be filed on the land records.
yeah.
So then we get credit.
Okay, but so,
So that- I mean,
even,
it
so,
fluctuates.
yeah, so, but the total number is based on, yeah, but what if somebody gets a building permit to put up 12 units and they never build them for
Okay.
10 years, but the
That-
12 units
that-
are like in the system?
That I don't know.
Yeah, that doesn't really seem like it makes sense.
No, that I don't know.
I mean, I understand we're not getting credit for the affordable units until there's somebody actually living there affordably. Because also with the affordable can fluctuate when somebody uses a Section 8 voucher, for instance, one place, and that can change, different places. But it would just, I think it would make sense that the numerator and the denominator would be when they're actually completed.
Well,
Because
well,
what
we
if
can
they don't
clarify.
actually build
Yeah.
all of them? They may have a permit for 225, they only build 200, because they never finish that last building or whatever,
can
that
clarify.
happens. I think the question that comes up the most, which I think is what Charlie wanted to get to with Department of Housing, is how do they count, or, what about places like, for lack of a better term, like a convalescent home, or for the veterans that are living at the Veterans Hospital, or
Okay,
like
well,
how are
that's on-
those counted?
That's on page 2 of
That's on
the
page 2,
list.
okay.
I got this far so far, I got that far.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll stop. I had a lot of coffee today and it's been very hot, so.
I could use some of that energy. We talked about government-assisted housing, for example, Elms Commons. Because originally it appeared to be restricted and designated as affordable way back when, because they did have Chapel Mortgage, and HUD was involved, but they released that mortgage. So it's no longer.
Because that was 30 years ago or
Yeah, it's
something.
no longer that way. Greenfield Village, there's a co-op there, Corporation for Independent Living has a co-op of 10 units there, and that's included.
Okay.
It's been around a while. I remember when they asked about doing that. Tenant rental assistance programs, that's also the Section 8 vouchers or whatever, that would be included in getting credit for affordable units. And one of the things on our plan is actually reaching out and advertising. And one of the things is to try to court people to come in with their vouchers into Rocky Hill. And that's reported based upon a June 30th date on an annual basis. They also look at single-family homes, CHFA and USDA mortgages. Typically, they do that after June 30th. That's something that I could put on my ticker list. I mean, it's few and far between. It's easy research. The town clerk's office, once a month, see how many CHFA mortgages we have.
What happens in a scenario where an individual owns a rental property and is renting it out below market for whatever reasons, but, conventional private loan, so do these units qualify?
It has to be known.
Yeah,
That's the
the
thing.
government, or, you know, the state would have to know somehow. The
Yeah,
only way
you
that
have
they
to
would
know.
know
Right.
Yeah.
would
But
be if
Yeah.
that tenant is using a voucher.
Yep,
what if it's a
Yep.
pure
Nope.
private transaction,
nope.
but it
There
won't
would be
qualify?
There
No.
would be
It wouldn't be
no
on the
credit.
deed.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's,
Oh.
it wouldn't be, wouldn't be a record of it anywhere, and I get it, I mean, it would be great if somebody had, you know, we've talked about this before, the apartment over the garage, that they're renting out for like cheap,
Yeah.
$600 a month or something, that's definitely affordable compared to everything else, but how do you track that? Do they have to report it, and then that gets sent off somewhere, and then what if, after they move out, you don't have like a mechanism for that?
Well, it'd be a deed restriction. You could do a deed restriction. that this is going to
Right.
be.
But then, you know, that flexibility isn't
Yeah.
there, and what's the trade-off for the,
Right.
but if they accept,
Can you report a lease agreement saying this is being rented out below market?
but what
This
is,
is
but
a 1-year lease.
then you have to evaluate what is market.
Which
You know,
in 1 year.
Well, then,
have-
then
I'm
we get
sure
into
there are
that.
tools
Then you
out
get
there.
into AMI
Yeah,
stuff,
which,
and,
that's in here.
I think we're overcomplicating this.
yeah,
We just
I think
need-
at the end of the day,
We have a lot to figure.
these are the rules, and we have to figure out how to count stuff based on
Yeah.
those rules.
Yeah, so,
So, look, I have to ask this, since
It's okay.
it's topical. Okay, we have a situation where there's a lease and that doesn't work, that doesn't count because there's no deed restriction. And my understanding is that the deed restriction has to be for 40 years? Is that true or is that not true?
well, for it to be an affordable unit under
Right.
the 830G statute, yes.
Okay. And,
Yeah. You can have things, for example, we in Rocky Hill had a subdivision, Rachel Drive and Nissa Way, which had 5 lots that were deed restricted. This is before this came about. And it was for a period of 5 years, unless it was conveyed, whatever.
Okay.
It was
It was
5
just the
years.
first owner.
Yeah, it was
There was a
basically
deed
the first
restriction
owner.
for the first owner.
Yeah,
and did it count as affordable for that 5 years?
for a brief period of time,
Yep.
Okay.
very brief period of time.
So
It's-
40
now it's
is not
gone.
cut in stone?
Now it's gone, yep.
All
Do
right.
we need to have, maybe someone here has the knowledge, I don't. Do we need to have like an attorney come in briefly to talk about deed restrictions and stuff like that, what it means? Because like I know what a deed restriction is, but when we're trying to apply it to the scenarios we're talking about, we should all be on the same page. I don't, maybe it's just me that doesn't know that information, but.
I wonder if there's someone from the state who would come in and explain it. Because that way we wouldn't have to pay our attorney.
Is it just me? Because well,
Yeah, it's basically a document that's placed on
Right.
the land records.
Right.
that's
we're
tied
talking about
to-
them, like, there's a deed restriction, or should there be one?
And
So,
what
like,
counts and what doesn't.
Right,
Well, that's why he was
So,
doing research with Department of Housing.
Okay.
On what
Okay.
counts and what doesn't count.
Okay.
For the affordable housing appeals.
Okay.
case.
So maybe we should just postpone this part of the conversation until,
Well, I can go through this and we can continue on.
I
This is just an
apologize.
It's okay, it's just an
Yeah.
update.
yeah,
I mean, everything's like, we're starting at ground zero. This
Right.
committee
Mhm.
started with
right,
no committee, basically.
Right.
And now we're kind of,
we're asking questions, it's good.
yeah, we're
Yep.
doing things,
Yep.
which is nice. Because one of the next thing would be deed restricted units, which means it runs with the land. For example, that 830G, which is a state, we've just set aside, 30% of the units. And right now, we have one of those projects under construction, and our second application was just applied for and will be on the agenda next week. For 830G application, the public hearing will be in August. It's out at 1093 Britton Avenue. Okay, so,
Oh, yes,
Or is it
okay.
July 24th?
it's on the agenda for receipt,
Oh, okay.
and then it's gonna be set a hearing, cause I.
The hearing is in August, yeah.
Yep, the hearing will be in August. Also, we talked about accessory apartments, and I'll talk about them more later, but accessory apartments, we do have, there's affordable housing as defined by state statute. The people have, spend up to 30% of their income, and there's certain income guidelines, what have you, that's why we're here. And then there's what creates housing that is more affordable, what makes it easier for me to become a property owner or a renter. So one of the things that the town planning and zoning did a while back, quite a long time ago, is create what's called an accessory apartment or subordinate unit. And originally the process was a public hearing with the commission, which is kind of a cumbersome process. You have to notify people and get up and do a presentation. So we took that process away. So now it's an administrative process with me. That's it. You either meet the regs or you don't meet the regs. And we've also modified that regulation to include detached subordinate units. Looking at our current regulation, which I've included in the packet, I want to modify it further because one of the things is you no longer have to be a property owner to have an accessory apartment. You don't have to live on the premises, I should say.
Okay.
You don't have to live on the
Like, I
premises.
can build one on my neighbor's?
No, you can build one on mine if you like.
Can rent?
But you don't have to live on the premises. Before, the law was you had to live on the premises, either in the subordinate unit or the primary unit. Now, the law reads, okay, towns need to modify their regs, so you don't have to. So if you own the house where I rent, you can build an accessory apartment either in that house or maybe above the garage or, wherever. And it will essentially be two rental. Well, we don't longer use the name mother-in-law because it doesn't have to be for family anymore.
Okay, that's.
There was a connotation with that it had to be for family.
Yeah.
And we can't enforce that, nor should we. So it doesn't have to be for family, it can be, but if you're just starting out, you're a couple just starting out, and you wanna make it easier to purchase a home, gee, look, I can put some investment in, I might be able to get some money back and help pay my mortgage, I might be able to buy this house, if I can do this. Or I'm at a certain age where I have parents that they may want to downsize and they might not mind an apartment, it's easier for me to look out for them, so they could stay there. But it doesn't have to be family, Or, if you have a college kid that wants their independence but kind of wants to stay home still, you can do that too, but you don't have to, so, but, so
They
that.
have a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still think it would be good for us as a third step after we have some more Chaffa conversations, that we have some sort of rollout or a presentation or something like, this is how you go about getting approved for an accessory dwelling unit. This is how in Rocky Hill you can do this. Because I think the general public doesn't really know.
Oh, well, that could be part of that forum that we'll get to talk about also.
Right. Because I think, and some of the limitations were there that maybe we can clean up a little bit, like you said in the regs about not necessarily living there, but if there's still a limitation based on, power meter, or the meter, and electricity, I think that, was brought up before. An investor who says, I want one unit, but I want to create a second one, we'd probably like to have that, affordable with a lowercase a unit, but they might not want to do that if it's all on one meter.
Yeah.
Because
Next requirement is to have a operable door in between the primary and.
yeah, like these type of things,
Could be separate units, gives you
Yeah.
that much more privacy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that goes into middle housing, which is a whole nother thing too with duplexes and triplexes and quadplexes and small dome clusters, so there's a whole nother thing we can talk about too. There's so many things we can do. Okay. The okay, 10% list. Charlie is dealing with Carrie Wood concerning the state VA and the type of housing that's on site, so he's been starting the conversations with her, because you have a hospital component there, you have what's called the domicile component, which is more like a
That's where they live.
dormitory, and then you do have some separate units that are actually across the street as well. So he's dealing with.
I can add to that. I was speaking with people over at the VA, and they told me that the funding that they already have is going to include 14 to 15 new units, and they're not sure when they're going to be built. What they don't know is whether we'll be able to count them, because they don't know if they're going to be restricted to veterans.
And where are these units going, on their premises on the north
their-
side?
I couldn't tell you.
Oh, okay.
I didn't get into that with him. I was just talking about how many they had and how many would be counted, and he couldn't tell me if they would be counted because they didn't know who was going to be in there. And that was almost the extent of that part of the conversation.
Okay.
But at least we have a little more information. And those are family units.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you see, when you volunteer at Stand Down, you see there's a lot more, because I volunteer at Stand Down
Yeah.
usually, and there's a lot more families that come for aid and assistance than
Oh,
there
yeah.
are just individuals, so it certainly is a need.
When you drive onto the property up on the hill on the left, that's where the houses are. Is that where they're talking, in that same area?
I
think?
can't tell you honestly where they're
Yeah.
going to build it.
Yeah, because I know
because
there's
I
a
haven't
cluster
s-
of houses there.
There are, and there's a few across the street, but I don't know
Yeah,
where
I
they're going
wasn't
to use the
aware.
land.
Yeah.
And then they have more land down by their machine shop. It's on the backside of Elm Ridge Park.
Okay.
in
That
area.
was given to us.
From the fence line down, correct?
Okay, yeah, we have basically that field that used to be hayed,
Right.
yeah.
That's town property.
That's town,
But
but you're talking,
if you take the dirt path and
Yeah.
go up where their
Okay.
fence is,
okay.
there's still some property up there.
Good.
How many do you think they could fit there?
He told, well, I don't know how many they could fit, but he told me they have funding for 14 to 15.
I see.
That's a good number.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's significant.
Yeah.
And who were you speaking to, the commissioner or?
No, I couldn't tell you his
Okay.
position.
Okay,
Before this meeting's over, his
Okay.
name will come to me.
okay, that's fine, that's good. Okay. He did ask again about the Elms, if they were still classified as affordable. But the Elms, they do not have a duty to the public to provide affordable units anymore, which I think I covered that.
No, you said they don't no
no.
longer have a duty.
Right.
Who's,
The Elms, because the Elms were originally built with CHFA dollars, CHFA financing, so. And that's how, and if the town has deed restricted units, we have to notify the state. So that was basically, if the town has deed restricted units or create deed restricted units,
Does the clerk know
we
that?
need to notify the state. Well, I would notify them in our P and Z projects,
Oh,
if they
okay.
have, I would send them the documents, whatever, so.
Okay.
That's the update from Charlie
Thank
as
you,
of
Charlie.
6/24, so.
Alright. Well, and our chair was there also for town council this last week, but CHFA came and did a presentation about, a few things, but the Build for CT program.
I do want to state that I did reach out to them to get a copy of that presentation,
Yes.
and they will get it to me tomorrow.
Okay.
Which is unfortunate, I wanted it for tonight, but.
But yeah, so, that was really informative, and it was good to have them here, and I think gears turning, you know, for the town council. And, you know, also we were able to talk with a little bit with them on the side and just about CHFA and everything. You know, they're our neighbors here in town, so it's really easy to call on them to come for stuff and do presentations and stuff is convenient for them. But one thing that came about in that conversation too, so the Build for CT program is basically they provide loans to build housing at a very reduced interest rate, and it's used to bridge gaps when there's a project where the economics just don't quite make sense for the builder to build it. And the example that they used is our own Kelson Row here. And they mentioned that for the town, we, you know, part of that agreement was that Kelson Row is deed restricting 10% of their units for affordable housing. However, getting that extra loan and funding through CHAFA, they agreed to restrict another 10% for affordable housing. Now, that's not necessarily 40 years. That's just through the length of that loan. But the loan is like between 1% and 3%. So they're probably going to keep that loan for as long as they can at 1 or 3%. And so that was good to hear that, you know, of these 225 units or whatever, instead of 23 of them being affordable, now another 23 are going to have to be affordable, and that also gets reported to the state and will count for our numbers. Not only accounting for our numbers, because yes, we want to chase a 10% number, but also that there's another 20-something units that are going to actually be affordable. Now, their deed restriction for that is not it's tied to the people moving in's income, and it's not at a lower rate. It might not be, it's not, you know, 40, 50, 60, or even 80%. It might be workforce. I think they said it would be between 80 and 120%. So the people could still be making decent money, but, and I believe they shared the numbers, and Kim has shared their calculator.
It's
in our
here,
packet here.
it's 2 pages after the minutes.
Yeah, so,
What
you know,
I believe 2 pages after the minutes.
so for instance, in Rocky Hill, one person moving in just by themselves,
What? You should have.
I don't. I have it now.
No, it's not that. It's the next page.
yeah, next one. Yeah, this one.
Yep. Well, you should have that with what I
Next
gave you.
page.
When I came in, you didn't give me one when I came in. You sent me.
Oh,
It's-
I didn't give you one of these?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, it wasn't in the package that we received because we got that so recently, but Kim's handing them out today.
Thank you.
So,
Sorry about that.
you know, just take for instance a single person moving in by themselves, making 80% of AMI or the area median income is $68,000. So that's still pretty solid for one person. It's just restricted $68,000 a year for an individual. That's one person moving in by themselves, and you know, they would have to verify that they make less than that to receive the rent that they would impose, which would be, depending on the bedrooms.
I mean, the rents are considerably
It's
high. It's quite high.
That's why I asked.
Yes, it's quite
Again,
high.
you think
Quite
of
high.
that, right?
You did.
Yes.
You did.
But believe it or not,
Yeah.
that is still nowhere near what the normal priced market rate or luxury units will go for. All those numbers seem high, you know, but Rocky Hill has higher than average median income and high demand, so our rents are high and our percentages are high. But, so, long story short, we actually have twice as many units out of Kelson Row that'll be reported.
In talking about the percentage of AMI, in learning about affordable housing and dealing with, the vessel application, Kelson Row and the others, and talking to colleagues throughout the state, you're 80% to 120% of AMI, while people in the public are finding it more acceptable at those levels.
Mhm.
When you get to the 60%, and there's a need for that, we still have that we don't want low-income housing here. And it's not like you're creating the Father Panic Village from Bridgeport. You're not creating these projects, so to speak,
Yeah.
from times gone by. But
But honestly, I don't really think that is, I don't think it's the pushback from the general public to approve those type of things as much as the developer
developers,
doesn't, the economics for the developer doesn't make sense at a 60 or 40.
that's why they
So
need
they
they need the financing.
Correct.
That's why they need the density bonuses. That's why they need, but that doesn't help us with that 10%.
Right.
But that's a whole the state's looking at that 10%.
And just to touch on one other thing that I found interesting from the folks from CHFA is they said, depending on what percentage they restrict it at, is the interest rate that they will give them on that loan.
Right.
So if they say, all right, we're gonna restrict 10% of these units, so like 25 units, to less than 60% of AMI, we'll give them a 1% interest rate. But if they only restrict it to 120%, that interest rate might be 3%. So they're incentivizing them to offset, to pay a lower interest rate by taking a little bit of the revenue off the table for them. And they said that was really one of the first projects that they did, and now they've done a lot more, and they're getting more streamlined with it, because I think they said they have something like $200 million in the bucket to do these types of deals with, which, by the way, they do get reimbursed for with this 1%, 2%, 3%. So, it's ongoing. But it was interesting. I would encourage anybody to watch the recording of the town council meeting from this last week regarding that.
Yeah, that was a very good presentation. And I think, there was a lot of good give and take with the council also, so it did open their eyes, so that was nice.
And then just the last part, following up about CHFA, is we still would like to, in the relatively near future, have a forum or something like that for residents, potential home buyers, either I would say invite people from surrounding communities, with information from CHFA about some of the programs that are out there, like Time to Own, which we're familiar with, like down payment assistance and some of these programs that are out there. And they were excited about, also talking about that. And Councilor Savigny from the town council knows a great deal about that as a loan mortgage professional. So he was interested also in being involved in that, and so, that's still, I would say, talking about step one, getting them in to talk about building. Step two, help, how we can help buyers and promote programs like CHFA, which will help our numbers as well. And that doesn't even take additional building. That's just, if you're coming to town already, you're already gonna buy a home, how about you use this loan instead of this one, because that's helpful for everybody,
Right.
And they were still on board with that too, and I think they have a whole presentation for that as well. It's just hammering out the logistics of what that would look like.
anything to add with their?
No,
Okay.
you covered pretty much.
Now, did you say you talked,
The next.
did you talk to Sue?
I had talked to her, you weren't at the last meeting, I talked to her, prior to that meeting. I talked to her, because I know, and you may know more about the specifics with what they have money for, but I know that the Housing Authority had received, a grant for planning and engineering for, additional units.
What and please, I'm not positive that I can quote Susan. My understanding is the grant that's been awarded to us now is for updating the units, all of our units.
That I know you have, that's for updating units.
Yes.
But they also have a grant to study, 'cause there's excess land there, they have a grant to study if they can get more units on their property.
See,
And
she
so-
didn't,
so I-
very conveniently.
Well, I talked to her about something that's a little more long range. I won't say it's pie in the sky, because it certainly would be ideal. The thing is, you need a lot of money for it. You have two complexes.
Right.
We only have
One-
70
one-
units, which
you're right,
blows my
one-
mind. So only-
yeah, one-
yeah, only 70 units. And ideally, what I think should happen, or would be nice, it would be disruptive for a short period of time, is to relocate, take one property, relocate the residents from that property for a brief period of time, raise those buildings. They, in my opinion, need help.
They'd be
And-
better off.
Yes, and then, build a multi-story building with some modern conveniences and some amenities for the people, residents that live there, and maybe double that population there, and then relocate the people back in, relocate people from the other complex into the excess units in that thing, and do a mirror building in the other place. So you're actually,
Yeah, I mean, but I think the ship has already sailed on rehabbing the existing units in the way that they're gonna rehab them. Cause it's
That's
taken
my
long, it's
understanding.
taken long, when was the last time they were redone, 4 years, something like this?
Oh,
No,
it
they've
hasn't
had-
been redone at all. as far
they've
as
had
I
Right.
know.
projects, well, 1995 was one of the first small cities block grants there to
Yeah.
do some ADA improvements
Yeah.
and some other
So
improvements
it's
there.
They
taken
only
this long to
4
get the
units
grant
that way,
that-
if
And
I'm right.
then you have some other, there was a grant a few years after that where they did some other upgrades on fire alarm systems and something else, and then they did something else with, so.
But so it's taken this long to get approved for the grant with the existing plans to improve them. Real, as I agree, that would be the most practical thing to do, is we have this footprint, keep the same footprint and just bring it up.
Yeah.
That might be a challenge, cause I'm sure plenty of people have mobility issues, so a second floor unit is gonna be a challenge, but do we wanna wait another 4 years to get another $2 million grant?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
When it's already taken this much time to just get this, to rehab the units that we already have.
We haven't even begun.
Exactly. Do we wanna start
Haven't
over?
even begun.
And then, I mean, that money is set for rehab, not new construction.
Exactly.
Are we gonna
Well-
lose that money if we don't start using it?
It's probably good for a little while at least.
I'm not sure what's holding.
It takes time to get-
I don't know the specifics.
Yeah, it takes time,
What-
you
where they're at.
Where that's
you gotta get
possible.
bids, and they gotta
Yes,
draw up
but
the
I don't
plans,
know.
and they,
I don't know if she's begun that process.
Yeah. I think I think they've been talking to people, but you gotta get different plans, and then you gotta bid it out, and it's, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know the specifics of what they were doing, so, but I know they have someone that they're looking at as far as excess land and building additional
Yeah.
units. And
I think
so
that's-
she and I had that
Ultimately,
conversation.
that's probably gonna be the way that
She
we're
and
gonna
I
have
had
to
that conversation.
go with it. And if we have an extra $55,000 to try to put together those plans of where else we could build more and how we could build those, then That's good. Then, once we have the plan, then we can actually go out and try to get the money to actually build it.
Quite right. Excellent.
Because that's one of the things in the affordable housing plan is also looking at either town, state property, open space property, whatever, to possibly, construct affordable units. So, was there anything else you wanted to?
No, I have my own question, because I keep looking at it and trying to figure the math out. We're at, 32% versus the 30% that we keep talking about.
The housing authority,
Yes,
okay?
but I don't, can any of these places do that? Can they go above the 30% if they want to? Is that what has been
Yes.
done?
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay. That was my own question that I couldn't quite follow.
You can do that.
Because there seems to be a big issue with grandfathered in, a lot of people being grandfathered in.
You mean at their current rent?
Right,
Yeah, based on their income?
right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people, the rest of us are carrying the weight
Mm.
that the people that were grandfathered in aren't
Yeah.
putting up.
Yeah, that's what makes it, I mean, and that's what makes it so challenging and why things go so long without,
I think that's what
You
I'm
know,
saying,
yeah.
yeah.
Do you think, I mean, you reside there, and I don't know if the others, do you feel it would be a wise thing to maybe have Susan come to a meeting with maybe one of the members from the housing authority, the actual board, to talk about
It would tell us,
what they do, and is there a need? I'm sure there's a waiting list, everywhere in housing authority properties.
and maybe more about how to get this existing money done so we can go out and get more to make future changes.
Is that something?
I think that's a good idea.
yeah, I mean, I think it would be helpful to the like,
To understand.
you know,
and-
like, I think I have a grasp of how all that works, but not everybody probably has the same level of understanding, and certainly the public doesn't know how that all works.
Definitely.
So I would say, yeah, invite Sue to one of our meetings and have her kind of outline how the housing authority works.
Yeah.
Of course, you know,
And-
the old saying, I can't know what I don't know.
Right.
So
Well, in
it's-
that case, we'll consider it done.
I have what she has relayed to me, but obviously I still have questions myself, so I think it would be useful
Okay,
for everybody.
okay,
Because
maybe
I
we can
can't
put
see
together
it.
some questions and I can send them on to her too, so. Okay, perfect.
And yeah, maybe Sue and somebody from the board
Yep.
too, yeah.
I know they've been to our plan implementation committee before,
Mhm.
so that's a different body, but it's a different group. So, Jen?
So, I think this might be the presentation you were talking about, is this it?
CT.
That is a program.
Yeah, this was a presentation I thought,
And then we have this too.
Yeah.
The attachment you just gave me.
yeah, I was gonna go over that, but this thing here might be it. I didn't make copies, I mean, I can email it, because it was lengthy.
Yeah, I think they only had like 5 slides maybe, something like that.
Yeah,
Like,
this-
they narrowed it down a
This
lot.
one's longer than,
They were told they had 15 minutes.
yeah, this one.
And then they sat through an hour-long presentation from
Yeah.
Eversource.
Yeah.
It had these, let me just
That was
read you,
long.
let me just read you the headings and let me know if this sounds familiar, because this is actually longer.
But if you want, you could send that to me and I'll see.
I
what we can
absolutely
get.
will,
Yes, okay.
absolutely will. But it gets into understanding the missing middle, workforce, housing, funding announcement, that was from the governor, and that was actually from 2023. Then there's this priorities and objectives section. The threshold, these are some good numbers here. The threshold is a minimum 20% of the units are restricted for 60 to 120% AMI. There has to be senior financing commitment. And then the priorities, the first one, discounted rents located in area of need near jobs and transit and employer contribution. And then, of course, these things are more for the builder. The energy efficiency, sustainability, amenities, innovative design, and loan characteristics. There is a listing here, or no, it doesn't, it talks about there are participating lenders. It doesn't list who all of them are, but, you know, obviously there's a group. The loan types are construction to perm, I don't know what that means. Permit?
Permit.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why you can't just add 2 more letters to make the whole word.
They probably.
I mean, it's 2 letters.
It got auto-corrected to perm.
Yeah,
Thought they were talking
probably
about
that's
hair
it. Yeah.
treatment.
So, the development activities here, it said, you know, they're looking at building and completing market rate multifamily developments, adaptive reuse and substantial rehab of existing unrestricted market rate multifamily developments in targeted areas. That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
So when I'll send it to you for
Yeah.
distribution.
That's perfect.
And it talks about loan terms, and obviously that would be worked out with the banks. A lot of loan terms. So it keeps talking about, you know, CHFA and the primary lenders. Yeah, this is, and again, you can read it, but it has a lot of required application materials. Some are obvious, the developer borrower name, something you might not think about. Construction schedule, where I'd like to think we think about that. Development team, identifying who all those people are. There is an email address, or I'm sorry, website, well, with an email. I also had a short email conversation with a woman who sent me some information today, and I haven't looked at that. This is just something I happen to print. It's very, very, very high level, but since I printed it, I might as well pass it around. It's the same thing though. It's talking about the Build for Connecticut, and it mentions, you know, it's a joint effort between the Department of Housing and CHFA. Some of this information is redundant, but for what it's worth, let me just send it along here. And I will email this to you tonight, okay? So they don't have that, yep. And then the other thing that Kim did print to give to everyone,
Should
so.
be in the back of what I gave you
Yeah.
this evening.
So, I did some research into this. So, you know, the Connecticut Department of Housing, the DOH is working with, as we know, CHFA. You know, we have a lot of details already in here. What this to me was interesting is they already have 9 things in progress, 9 housing developments that have gotten funding. And it lists on here, there are 722 affordable housing units that have been or in the process of being created. And the towns are Haddam, Hartford, Meriden, New Britain, New Haven, Plainville, and Waterbury. So a good cross-section of the state. And halfway down the page, it says the developments are of varying sizes and financing totals. So you can see where they are specifically within the towns. It also talks about what type of things they are. Some are, it's a lot of renovation is what's going on. So I need to take another read at this because there's a lot here. But to me, it was helpful to see the type of things that they're doing, not just that a town is getting, you know, X amount of dollars. Because there's definitely some creativity in here.
A lot of these are nonprofits also.
Yeah, like Chrysalis.
Yeah,
Chrysalis.
I used to be on the board of directors at Sheldon Oak Central, through, I attended church in Hartford, because I grew up originally in Hartford and then Rocky Hill. And now my dad took my place, so now he's on the
okay.
board of directors.
Oh, okay.
I like the way that worked. But it's a nonprofit, and, so if we can maybe reach out to some nonprofits out there, I mean, not necessarily them, because there's a connection, but nonprofits, maybe they can assist us also. We're also looking into foreclosure lists to see, is that something that maybe talking to, maybe some smaller developers might want to do that, pick up a foreclosure at a reduced price.
Yep.
And maybe converting it to maybe 2 units, one being designated affordable, one not. The market, who knows? I mean, there's people out there interested in doing that, so. So we're now taking a look at foreclosures in town as well.
That's really
We-
good.
we do-
Sadly, they exist.
We staff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So.
For a while there, we would get foreclosures
Yeah.
notices from the town clerk's office, and then for some reason, they stopped doing that.
Because we don't have any. We have about one every 3 months,
But,
realistically, because I
Well,
watch them too.
yeah, or we
for-
have those that, we
Really.
get a lot of those, we're thinking about it,
Yeah.
we get a lot of
The-
those
the
notices.
The
but
pre-foreclosure notice or the lien has
those
been
are
filed, I
always
think.
the blighted properties too. We
Yes,
get
you
those.
already know.
So we
Those are
kinda
the-
know where it's going.
Those are the
Yeah.
frequent
Yeah.
flyers.
So we kinda
Yeah.
know where
Right.
it's going, so,
Yeah.
Yes.
but that's, I mean,
And the tax foreclosure ones, which we get every couple years,
yeah.
every few years, something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Sorry.
tax ones.
That's okay, and speaking of CHFA, I can't remember if there was a takeaway or not from the last meeting to get someone from CHFA to come in and talk to us at a future meeting. Does anyone remember that?
I seem to recall that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we did the presentation.
Yeah.
And I think where the idea is to do a forum for, like surrounding communities in Rocky Hill.
Okay.
And we're going to look at meeting space and
Okay,
numbers
great.
of people, and there's gonna be a registration process, so CHFA will be part of that.
Perfect.
With DOH and the Fair Housing Center and some others.
That'd be ideal.
You know.
Yeah, because I think it was not to just have them come and talk to us.
Right,
But
right.
have them talk to
Yeah.
Yeah.
the council and
Community.
then
Right.
also
Yeah.
come to the
Right,
to
yeah,
the
I'd
whole
forgotten that,
community.
yep. And it's nice that they are in Rocky Hill, so.
Yes.
Very
I-
nice folks.
Okay, so my takeaway on this is I'll send this on to
Yep.
Camp for distribution.
Yep.
That's all I had.
Okay,
We're starting with that too.
all right.
Tom.
I went in 2 different directions.
Okay?
One direction I went in was contacting the VA and see if I could get more information about government loans and the percentages that they loan to, and interest rates, and how many units we have in town. And frankly, I was spinning my wheels. They don't have ready access to that specific information. It's broken up in a lot of different areas. But they politely guided me to get somebody who's familiar with, from a bank or from a lending institution, who's familiar with GI Bill and VA loans, and let them explain it, how it works in your community. So that goes along with what we've been saying. The other direction I've been going in was grants. Now, I know that our town has people here, Mona in particular, and probably you, who are well-resourced on grants for community. But we don't have a good resource to guide businesses toward grants. That's what I researched. I went through the Chamber of Commerce, I went to Connecticut Small Business Development Center, and I spoke with a wonderful young lady there, and she's willing to help us. She will guide us towards specific people in specific areas so we can get the exact grant information that we're looking for. Now, having said it that way, what I mean is she very politely told me I can't go into her with this broad an ask. What I have to do is say, this is what we want to do, and then they can guide us toward specific grants in that direction.
Awesome.
Losing my voice, sorry.
But is that geared towards a developer going to them to say, or a
It really is.
nonprofit to say, hey, I want a grant to rehab this structure into 10 units or something like that?
The developer certainly would be involved in that, and probably the person who would do the application. but she is willing to lead us down the path so that we can connect the developer with the correct organization and the correct grant. And that's tremendous. And she promised to get back to me within 3 days from today with deeper information and contacts for us, which I'll communicate to you all through Kim. The other thing that, following up on that, the other thing is, last meeting, I mentioned that I was interested in that 24-acre parcel that the state owns coming off of 91. And in my mind, that's not a dead issue, but I haven't pursued that to the state because it's not my place.
That's the former I-291 ramp?
Yes.
Okay, former I-291 ramp, they did a subdivision, so they divided out the portion closest to 91, where DOT will be keeping that.
Mhm.
And the remaining land was, I know, because many entities talked to Kerry Wood about that piece, as far as, you know, what everybody wants to do with it.
Right.
Everyone wants to do something different. That's where it stands now. We don't have it.
Are they actively pursuing that?
So-
Is anybody
I
actively
think,
pursuing
I
it?
think Carrie's still involved with that.
Okay.
She's been still involved.
I will contact Carrie. I'll find out what's going on with that. And because the most distant part of that property is over 4 acres. And that's enough to do something with. And it's level, it's dry. I don't know if there's any gas lines under it, but
Where-
Vegetated, so it's,
yeah.
it's across, in generally speaking, it's across from Maxwell
Oh, Park.
Drive and Elizabeth Court, the assisted
Oh,
living
okay.
facility.
Mhm.
Yep.
So that was the
Exactly.
former I-291 right away.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I think that's
Off of
still
Maple.
worth, pursuing, but, and that's the operative but. So I will contact Carrie about that. And the other thing that I have to mention is I will not be at the next meeting, because we have a primary election, and that's what I'm gonna be doing. And if any of you would like to work, let me know.
It's just, wow, it's come out quick.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about the next meeting when we get down to the next meeting. So. Do you have anything for?
So, I mean, one thing I had was, for the public forum that we are planning with CHFA, do we wanna come up with a date or a month where we wanna do that? Because it's gonna involve some legwork, getting a place, getting people to come, advertising it so the general public knows about this event.
First we need the venue, and I know I talked to the town manager about the community center, cause it's always nice to advertise and show off the community center.
Yeah.
There is the, we don't wanna interfere with the senior lunch, so it would have to be like 8 to 10 or something like that. So I would talk to Gina Marino on that.
Is that the best time of day to do it?
Well, we don't know, it depends on what it is we're doing, because programs typically go on in the afternoon. So I would reach out to her if we're going to have it there. And that would be in room 1 where they have the lunches, it would be in the circular tables, kind of
Yeah.
that type of setup. I mean, we could go out to the Sheraton, it would probably cost.
No.
That would cost.
I think we should do it here.
I
I
do
was
too.
more
I think
Yeah.
so too.
inclined towards doing it in the evening,
Yeah, bingo.
In the evening, we could do that too.
after like, I don't know, 6 o'clock or 5
Yeah.
o'clock. People
Yeah,
after
probably
work could
6,
come.
6:30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the only people
Yeah.
who would be available during the week from 8 to 10 don't work
Yeah.
or.
Retirees.
So we have to get- We'd have to
Are
get
they
dates, and it
target?
should be far enough out, it should be in the fall. It should be in the fall when people are,
Yep.
back from vacations, and
Yeah,
people
I
are
was-
at school.
I was actually going further out. I was thinking more
Oh.
January when people people are done with the holidays and
Oh.
have more time to focus.
Nah,
No.
no,
But
No,
too far
because-
away.
Yeah, because keep in
Then it's
mind,
winter, then it-
home ownership, people are gonna, if you're looking for houses, you're gonna be looking in the spring typically.
Yeah, I would,
I would do
no,
that
I
as
would
well.
say September or something like that, maybe at the earliest. At this point, August is too soon, probably.
September's too crazy with back to school stuff, maybe October.
Yeah, I'm thinking
Yeah.
October. Yeah, exactly. You have time, people are settled into their routine,
Yeah.
back to college or back
Cold
to high
enough,
school.
people
or
aren't
whatever.
outside
Yeah.
doing fun things in the
you know,
evening.
And then,
Yeah, when is the time change?
Last Sunday in October.
Okay, so before that,
yeah.
because otherwise it's gonna be dark, people are not gonna come out.
Yeah, and you're going to want to, obviously it has to be limited to the capacity there, so
Right.
that would go out
I
in
don't
an
think
announcement.
having too many people is going to be our,
No, I don't think so either, but I would want to invite, folks from our, I always use the health district as our kind of region,
Mm.
you know, Rocky
Yep.
Hill, Weathersfield, Cromwell, Newington, maybe reach out to Berlin, you know, and kind of keep it there, so, but.
Yeah.
So we can look at, I can look at availability of,
October.
dates or in that time frame.
Yeah.
And then start that process
Yeah.
and get things out to people. I try to do emails, if we do agendas, we can do agendas on a group email. If we're talking about content, I don't tend to, I'm really a stickler as far as saying, okay, I'm gonna notify 2 people at a time.
Yeah.
Cause I don't want it to be a meeting, so you may get weird emails, one day you may be emailed 2 together, and you 2 together, and the next time it'll be you 2, you
Yeah,
know, but.
and that's why I usually
I-
only reply to you two.
Yeah, so.
You know,
And
like, is
maybe-
everybody gonna be
Yeah.
there? And it only goes to you two, it's not a reply all, 'cause
Yeah,
it's not a meeting.
yeah.
Maybe this is naive, but can we put a disclaimer that this is just communication, not a meeting on the
And
email?
it's
It's,
federal freedom of information.
no, that's why, no. It's easier that way, but no.
Yeah, because
You gotta kinda.
Communicating while everybody's on emails and
Yeah.
things would go a lot quicker.
Yeah,
Put
we'll
a
just
disclaimer.
send back to Kim, Kim can BCC back to everybody or whatever, and then you just
It'll work, it works.
into Kim, out to everybody else.
It works, it's okay. You'll have to look at that, but unfortunately.
And we'll meet 2 more times before then, so that's when our collaborative
Yeah.
stuff can come together.
October,
One of the things that I know, of course, we're kind of all over it right now, dates, I have my little asterisk for like homework. One of the things I wanted to do, and I know we're talking about the forum, and I didn't really put this on here, but concerning an ordinance for, first-time home buyers, there's new laws about tax abatements. If you go for $500 for 5 years for first-time home buyers, if you go through CHFA, first line mortgage, it's under Raise Bill 5167. It's effective October 1 of this year. The municipality may, upon approval of its legislative body, abate for taxes $500 a year
for 5 years.
for 5 years for first-time home buyers using CHFA mortgage.
Nice.
And I would like to do that as a proposed ordinance to the council.
I like it.
As a
I think
kinda-
this board should recommend it.
Yeah.
And propose.
That was related to that was one of the things that I wanted to ask today is, you know, what should our role be when these proposals come forth, you know, when
Well,
there's a. you
It
know,
could be written by somebody else and proposed by somebody else. If you wanna do that in concert with state law.
so you mean, so, yeah, so
Mhm.
what does that look like? So you say, hey, Ray, I think we should propose this. Ray
No, I would
puts-
just write it up and give it to them. I'd say this is what I think. we should
Yeah, and then Ray
propose.
puts it on the agenda for the town council, and then we offer, you know,
Yeah. We
support
discussed it
or.
at this meeting, we discussed this at this meeting, and if the board would like to pursue that, we can certainly, I can certainly do that. I would ask for a motion and a vote, and then we can certainly get that to the town manager, and then they would put it on the agenda, because the word is may, the language is may, so
Yeah.
it's up to them,
Understand.
not up to us.
Yeah, it's not,
Mhm.
yeah,
It's not
they're not
mandated.
required to do it,
Yeah.
it's, the legislature has allowed towns to make the decision to do
Yeah.
that if they want to.
Yeah.
Much like other, tax
Yeah.
abatement stuff related to farmers,
Yeah.
or, I think seniors or veterans, or there's some other ones out there, the same idea.
So, I think why not pursue it?
What do they have, so, they have to have CHFA
Yep.
mortgage,
Yep.
they have to
Not
retain
longer
it.
than 5 years, the real property tax is due, owned by a person who purchased such property with funds provided to qualified first-time homebuyers by CHFA, and which property is encumbered by a mortgage in favor of CHFA.
Okay,
And
so
they talk
basically
about-
they have to have a CHFA loan,
Yeah,
mortgage. Okay, and CHFA has income restrictions and first-time home buyer restrictions.
yep.
So that's not, nobody's gonna come in as a millionaire and
And
use a
these
CHFA loan. where we're giving
CHFA
them more money.
mortgages
Yep.
give us credit on a unit.
Bingo. And so that's our reason for supporting it, is we want more CHFA loans because they and they also have a heavier weight for that percentage too, in that number.
I agree. I think we should pursue that, and, for the reasons that Alan just stated.
So yeah, so what would that look like? Let's say it's on the agenda for the October 15th meeting or whatever, I don't even know if that's the date. It's on some future agenda. Would somebody from this committee speak to say that we are in support of it? Or would it be
They would-
just something mentioned at the same
I
time?
think it's
It may-
necessary.
The Affordable Housing Committee also supports this, has endorsed this, and recommends that you take this.
Well, it'll probably be me getting up, proposing it, saying that we discussed it at this, in this,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, but the council would have to set a public hearing.
Okay,
So it
Right.
wouldn't be the first meeting.
Right.
okay,
And our
Unless
chair
they-
could go up
Yeah.
and speak.
So we
Yeah.
propose it in their next meeting, and then they can put a public hearing for the following meeting.
Well, that's entirely up to them.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah, it's
in
entirely
ideal.
up to them when they
Yeah.
add it to the
Sounds
Sounds like the
agenda.
most logical
Yeah.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
but I'm just saying, how do we voice our support of it?
By recommending it as a board, as a committee.
Right, but what is, I mean, what is that, just a
A
verbal
motion?
from Kim?
No, it's a motion. No, I'm not on the board.
I know, but I'm
It's
saying,
it's
if
a
you're the one
motion.
that's delivering it to the,
It's a motion
Council
from
or to Ray.
the board
Correct.
with a second and a vote, and that's part of the
Right.
minutes that are gonna be part of their
When,
package that they get.
yeah,
And then
When
when the
it's
hearing
written.
comes up,
then we can make the
Yeah.
motion to approve it.
so, well, do
Yeah.
you want this, if you want it to go forward, you
I'm-
can make a motion to say, okay,
I'll
Kim,
make a motion right now.
Write it up, and
Yeah.
we'll,
I'll make a motion right now for this to be written up and for us to go forward with it to the council, recommending it to the council.
I'll second.
Third.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Unanimous.
Okay.
there.
great. Thank you.
When's the next town council meeting?
They're modifying their schedule this summer, so they're doing, I think, only one meeting a month.
So this might not be on the agenda for a while, anyway.
It may be
Yeah.
on, I mean,
It just
it's not up
depends
to,
on-
it's up to the manager and the mayor set the agendas,
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
But at least we're gonna be on the radar.
So I will, when I see him, I will talk to him about it, and then we'll go from there. So,
The budget off-season is a good time to introduce abatement things.
it's wonderful. Thank you, thank you so much. Ordinance, perfect. Accessory dwelling units, I know you wanted to, you talked briefly about accessory dwelling units.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add to that, just that I think some way to roll that out to the town,
Well, I wanted,
the broader public.
I included our regulation as they exist today in our zoning regs. That's after the AMI. I should put page numbers on these things when I copy them. I think I'll do that going forward. It's,
I
it
don't
says,
know.
Then you said,
I don't.
yeah, I think you have it.
Second
Chapter.
page
Yeah.
of what we got in the mail.
Oh, it's maybe in the mail.
Yeah,
Okay.
there were two things, because it does allow for detached units, which was one of the new requirements. It is an administrative process, that's the zoning
Oh.
permit. The only modification would be, should have it somewhere there. Let me see. It's after the AMI page. And it's not in this one, I don't know why.
It's in the package you sent.
Oh, okay. I might have extras here. I always have extras of everything, usually. Maybe not.
Yeah, it's just the
Okay.
section 3.c.
Yep, yeah, on the, towards the bottom of the page, 3C2C, or 3, accessory apartment. The only thing that we have to modify, and this is something, I mean, I don't know that this board needs to really reach out to P and Z, you can if you wish, cause I'm there all the time. But you can if you want to. The only thing that I want to modify, and this is something for planning and zoning to talk about, is the property owner shall reside on the premises. Well, the state law says the property owner doesn't have to be there.
Right.
So, and the word is shall, so that has to be changed. And it could be just, the change could just be the property owner may reside on the premises.
Yeah.
That would be a change,
Right.
but that still has to be a public hearing. So. So, but that would be the change I would suggest to planning and zoning.
Yeah, so my only point with that is just, I don't know, like a how-to guide of how to do a ADU,
Okay?
how to do an accessory dwelling unit, like what steps you need to take, what type of things you could do, you know, is it just adding on, well, you know, now it's detached units are approved, but what do you have to keep in mind? And there's a couple things in there, you know, like it can't be more than 25% of the lot and blah, 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 you know, but
Okay.
I think most people would be like, oh, I'd like to have I have enough space on my property for another unit, but how do I even do that? Not everybody knows to just call Kim for all the answers in these things, you know.
We can call you? No. Okay. Okay. Planning and Zoning Commission activity, in talking to, for example, our chairman, who was a former staff member at Department of Housing. So he does have a lot of knowledge. He's no longer with that particular body now, but he does have a lot of knowledge. We were talking about our regulations, maybe proposing a modification, so if you're building residential units, whether they be apartments or single-family homes or rental units or condos or whatever, that a certain percentage automatically be affordable. And with that, keep in mind that developers, obviously, they're either breaking even or losing money on affordable units per se. So there may have to be density bonuses. There may have to be some other mechanism in there to kind of help them out. But obviously, the more units, the more market rate units you get, you want to have a certain percentage be designated affordable, because that infamous 10% that the state is looking at, possibly changing. But they're going to be looking at the regulations as far as what else they can do.
I was speaking with the senator, had coffee with the senator and a representative, and we were kicking around how to make it construction more affordable and how it would be more affordable to buyers. One of the ideas they had came out of Colorado, and in Colorado they have a bill which just passed, and it says if a seller buys down the rates for a buyer, so the buyer gets a reduced interest rate, that money that the seller pays can be a tax write-off for them. I know this is an aside, but that was our own
Yeah.
conversation. I think it's interesting.
Is that,
Yeah,
is
I
that
hadn't heard
currently
Is
the
that new,
rule
a
for
new law?
just,
Or-
is it a state thing? Or is that,
Well,
because basically anytime you pay interest
Mhm.
on housing, you can write it off in your taxes.
when you're
but-
buying down interest for somebody else.
But,
Oh.
yeah, I don't know. I've never been in a position
Well,
where I've
that
been
was
able to
the
pay somebody
conversation.
else's interest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is in Colorado, you say?
In Colorado.
Hmm.
Oh. Do you have any references to that? Or can you get that?
I'm gonna
I
chase
can
that
get
down.
that, I
Yeah.
can, I'll get a copy of their law, and through you,
Yeah.
we'll send it to everyone.
Thank you.
Like, obviously, that would be good in the state of Connecticut, that would be good for income tax here, but
Yes,
what about,
it wouldn't,
on the
it
federal
wouldn't
level,
affect
it-
federal.
that was my question, is that, I guess I never really thought about that for, through the IRS. Yes. I mean, it would be consistent with other tax policies.
Yeah.
Cause you pay mortgage interest, you write that off on your income tax. If
Right.
you're paying somebody else's mortgage points, why not?
Makes sense.
And it would help, and it would help more people become buyers
Right.
affordably. And at the end of the day,
That's one of the biggest
it's written
problems
off
with
either way,
qualifying,
so,
isn't it?
what's that?
Isn't that one of the largest problems with qualifying for a mortgage?
Is the monthly payment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the interest rate right now being at 7, a little over 7, something like that.
That's insane.
And Mike Whiplash.
Not Chaffa though,
conversation.
Chaffa 6.75.
The GI loans, the way they're structured, when they when it's a GI loan, there's no private mortgage insurance,
Yeah,
That's nice.
yeah,
which is
Nice
nice.
perk.
That's a big chunk of
Yeah.
yeah.
money you don't have to pay.
In the information given out, the Connecticut Council on Small Towns went through some of the housing legislation. And Public Act 23207, Section 18, that's towards the back of what I gave out today. The OPM, Office of Policy and Management, and Department of Housing, DOH, and Economic Development, they're talking about a methodology to assign each municipality what's called their fair share. They're trying to get rid of this 10%, or trying to address that 10% number, because many municipalities, and it's typically your poorer urban areas, have
They have no problem getting to 10%.
Yes. And then many of the beach communities or the more expensive communities, they do have a problem. getting their 10%. And people, municipalities fluctuate, so you may be over 10% one year, and then something happens, and then you go under 10%. So they're trying to address that through this public act. So they're looking at a methodology to talk to municipalities about doing their fair share. And in here it lists, the act specifies methodology must determine the need for affordable housing in each of the state's planning regions. So like the Capital Region Council of Governments is a planning region in central Connecticut. And then you have the Connecticut River, Lower Connecticut River Planning Region. So there's different regions in the state. So they're trying to address affordable housing by region in the state. So they're using the planning regions as the entity. They want to fairly allocate the need to each region's municipalities. They must increase the municipality's fair share allocation if relative to other municipalities in its planning region has a higher equalized net grant list, higher median income, lower federal poverty rate, and lower population share residing in multifamily housing. So there's a lot of things they're going to be looking at, and they're trying to figure out how to do that right now. Once they do that, then they're going to get that information out to the regional planning agencies, which will trickle down to the towns. That's in your information I gave you. So that all has to go back to the legislature as well. So that law from 1989 will change.
What do you think the odds are?
It's been discussed for so many years now, but I think we're there. I think they're getting close. I think they're getting close.
I think it's like a rock and a hard place.
But
You know, it's at the end of the day, communities that don't really want to have more affordable housing are not gonna be happy if they don't, you know, are still required to build some.
I mean, people have a
You know.
right to shelter, people have a right to housing. I've been a proponent for affordable housing for a long time, to the point where I almost was fired years ago. Yeah, that was fun. But that's why I'm really excited about this group.
Look,
so-
we're already making progress.
I-
We've already
you
taken
are.
action.
Yeah, you guys really are. You're doing things, and I appreciate that, and I know the town appreciates that also, so, but I don't know if anybody else has anything they want to.
One more question for you.
Okay.
As far as me talking with Carrie about the property over there off 91, fine, no problem. But who in town should I discuss? I mean, I can't go very far with this conversation without the town agreeing that they want to do that. Who should I approach on that? Should it just be the town manager? Should it be Mona? Should it be, you know?
It would go through, it would probably be you and I talking to Carrie, and then we can bring it to the town manager.
Okay,
And it would be like,
Yeah, I
This
was
way,
gonna
yeah.
just say,
Okay.
I would like,
yeah, yep.
to
Of
help
course.
out wherever I
Yep.
can.
yeah.
So, yeah, I just had, you know, related to kind of what we said already, or what I said already. So there's another 830G proposal coming up soon, on the agenda for planning and zoning next week. Talking about a development on a corner of Kobe Road and New Britain Ave for 25 units, 30% affordable.
I can't picture enough space there.
And it's like,
Yes.
it's a
Where
fair
is
amount,
it?
yeah, it's a fair amount of
Okay.
space. They're townhouses even, I forget, it's like
20,
4 point some
25.
acres or
Is
something like that, right?
Okay.
Yeah, but it's all like woods right
Yeah.
now. And you can already see Facebook in a hot tizzy about it. But, my question just is, you know, when some of these things come available, or come up, and they're talking about building affordable housing, you know, where do we come in terms of supporting, keeping our mouth shut, whatever, about projects that might be on the table that are accomplishing our goals of expanding affordable housing.
Okay, well, I would be very generic and tie any comments, make sure everyone's aware, and the chairman and I are aware of what's gonna be said. I mean, I'm gonna be at the hearing, so that meeting next week is not a public hearing, it's to receive the application.
Yeah.
The hearing will be the
Well,
following.
I'm not even
Yeah.
saying specifically for this one, because I don't know any of the
Yeah.
details of it. So
Yep.
who knows? Maybe it's
Yep.
totally
But-
something the town does not want because of whatever thing. I don't know.
But-
But I'm saying in general, like, I'm fine with saying, hey, my name is Alan Smith from Rocky Hill. I'm speaking on behalf of myself. You know, I'm fine with that.
Well, I think
on
if,
any
if
issue.
I think if as a group, you want to discuss and support something, you as a group can
Yeah.
do that with the correspondence. I think that makes sense.
My feeling is that as a group, we should only tend to encourage and improve things. Individually, as you say, we can go up and take any position you want. But I also feel that if there's something going up that a majority of us do not favor, I don't think I'd want to go as this board and go against a proposal. We could take that as, on an individual basis, but generally, that's my feeling.
Yeah, and
think-
and
Either
I
that-
would
either
even
that or-
argue,
or
even
not.
I would even argue as individuals on this committee, even if we individually might be against something that is offering affordable housing for whatever reason, maybe we don't like the person building it, or we don't like, it's right next to my favorite empty lot that I like to sit in and, look at birds, whatever reason. If it's against something, maybe we should probably just keep our mouth shut about it.
Well, there it is, the town.
If we're for it, then okay, all bets are off, we can.
No, the town does have, everyone has the right to free speech, I get that.
Yes.
Right.
The town does have an ethics policy, and it applies, I think I gave it out early on. It does apply to all boards and commissions as well. So if you, everybody may be involved with social media, or maybe talking to their, you go out to dinner and talk to your neighbors, or whatever it is, and because you're here, and you're on the Affordable Housing Committee, and now you're talking about something that's being proposed, maybe next year. And for some reason, you don't like it because it's next to that vacant lot where you had your first deed, and you have a sentimental attachment to it or something.
We're not supposed to
Don't-
prejudge anything
don't
anyway.
Don't be talking about that, because it will invariably get you back here. And if I am on social media, and I follow all the forums and things, and I see what people post, and if I see it, I will say something. If I see something, I do say something. And I usually,
With harsh words,
I don't start out harsh. I don't start out harsh, but I tend to end up harsh. But I do say to
Yeah.
somebody, Tom, by the way, and this is all an act, mind you, but Tom, by the way, I saw your post on I don't even know what it's called now, Twitter. I don't even know what it's called
Yeah.
now. But I saw your post on Twitter.
Is Kim on Twitter?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
But I did see, I did see your post
I
on
gotta
Twitter,
follow.
Tom, and it was about, XYZ, and you were disparaging something, and, that's really not appropriate. And if that item comes in, you are not to talk about it, because that would be a conflict for it. So, I use that as a bizarre example.
Well, I'm gonna look up Kim on Twitter.
Go right ahead, I'm not
X,
there.
it's your,
Is that what it is now?
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
X, it's
Oh,
not
okay.
Twitter
Yeah.
anymore.
I'm gonna still
Okay.
call it Twitter.
Okay, that's what I.
I'm not
using
on
it.
it, so.
Okay.
So
Neither
the
am
rule,
I,
the
but-
ethical rule is that
Yeah.
if it's something to do with this board or any other board that we're on, that's not something that we're coming out publicly on.
Yeah, you just
That's
don't.
just, that's
You
all.
just don't.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
have fun,
Yeah,
enjoy
common
yourself.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was just a good conversation to have, so we're all on the same page, you know?
That's wise, that's wise.
What do you think?
I agree totally.
Okay.
What's your TikTok handle?
Mine. Oh, you mean the one where I'm dancing?
Yeah, exactly. You should see it, it's lit.
Okay.
So the August meeting on the schedule, I believe, is August 1st, which is soon.
Yes.
Oh, right.
Weeks from now.
What? 3 weeks?
August 1st is the next meeting?
That's fine.
Now we're talking the August 1st meeting. I will not be there,
Okay.
unfortunately.
I mean, this was set up as a special meeting because it didn't quite work with the July date, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got bumped from the 5th of July or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was
But, so then we'll be back on the normal.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was sidetracked. We are sticking with August 1st?
Yeah.
You have to go to class.
Oh, yeah, you got it.
Enjoy.
Good thing it's in the same
Thank
building.
you. I know, right?
Alright, so August 1st, 2 weeks from now, that's fine.
Do you have any suggestions for agenda? I mean, I think we have a lot of good suggestions for
You know,
agenda items. but-
One thing I was gonna say is, I can nail down some of the details and come back and we can do a deeper dive explanation of what deed restriction is.
Oh, I would love
So then
that.
everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, good idea.
I can't claim I'm an expert in it either, but just like you and I, when we got certified,
Yeah.
licensed by principles and
Yep.
practices years ago, we
Yeah.
have a general knowledge
Yeah.
of it, but I can find the official,
Yeah.
this is how it
Yeah.
works,
It's a
this
good
is what it means.
Because we throw the word around
Yes.
a lot in here because
Yep.
of the topic, but, we should all be on the same page.
And then we can all be the experts to explain it to everybody else who goes, I have no idea what a 40-year
Right.
deed restriction means.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the ordinance.
The ordinance,
Yeah,
yes.
that ordinance,
Mhm.
about that.
And as far as getting together with Carrie Wood, I'll reach out to her,
We'll get together or even a phone conversation.
phone conversation,
Yeah,
but
that could be-
the three of us and Carrie. And I'll try to do that sooner than later, because.
Can
I'm
I,
gonna-
can I ask one question? Like say, you know, this piece of land that's owned by the state, right?
Yep.
And they agree that, okay, this is, they just give it to us?
They can sell it to us, they could grant it to us. Now, this is my understanding, that when the state has excess land, the priority, and they're not going to use it, when the priority, if they're gonna give it to us, either utilities or the community.
Okay.
I have a
So
lot.
we're first
Every
in
door
line
in the town.
to virtually all others who might
The
want it.
building.
Want it.
And we have to
All right,
express
good
that
night,
need.
everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank
It's
you.
good seeing you.
Yep,
Thank you.
good seeing everybody, thanks.
So that's good to know because, you know, I mean, I'm sure at this, this
Right.
is a priority at the state level as well.
Sure. Unfortunately, it's probably not a priority for anybody in the state.
Sure.
And I've been very timid, very cautious on who I approach and what I say when I approach them, because I don't have town authority to do anything like that.
Right.
I'm just, what do they call it, on an investigative quest, that's all.
By the power invested in me by the Affordable Housing Committee.
Right.
That's good.
I can go ask questions.
And then,
The date for the public forum?
oh, yeah, I can at least start looking at that.
Yeah, see what other.
What day, if there was a preference, would you think we would get the most footfall or enough?
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right?
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah,
Tuesday, Wednesday,
typically.
Thursday?
yeah.
Yeah, because you gotta wrap up stuff at the end of the week and.
And or leave
Yeah.
town. And Monday you're
And
exhausted because you're back at work.
Alternatively, what do you think about doing it on a weekend mornings? No.
No.
Yeah,
reset.
tough.
I don't think so.
Oh, it's closed?
I believe it's closed most of the time.
Yeah, I think our best bet is like weekday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the evening though.
Okay.
Yeah.
The November election is on the 5th, and for 2 weeks before that, we have early voting,
But we can have them come in and learn about Chaffa before they go and vote, or after.
which is a great idea.
Because we lure them in with voting. And
But I take up a lot of room in the community center.
You do?
Yes.
And do people come, well, early voting, I mean, do you typically have a lot, well,
And now
have
it's
you
gonna
had it
be a
yet?
trickle. It's gonna
We
be-
had it in the presidential primary.
Yeah.
I had a grand total of 160 voters
Oh,
in
wow.
5 days.
Wow,
It's
okay,
ridiculous,
okay,
but
Okay.
it's state law,
yeah, so,
and that's, so I have
who
to,
knows?
Yeah.
Okay, but
that's
if
what we're
we,
doing.
well, when you say early, is it early voting for 2 weeks prior to that?
Yes.
Okay,
So from the middle of October on, it might be difficult for you to book rooms.
Mm, yeah.
And you go.
that's good to know, thank you.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good to know.
Yeah, what is it?
Okay,
October.
It's
Maybe
good to know.
in the first or second week of
It's good to know.
October.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say October 1st to 15th probably would be like target time
okay.
for that.
Okay.
So, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair,
it's, I mean, motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, everybody
favor?
seconded.
All in